No, I'm just saying, like, did you ever think that 8 years ago, like 8, 9 years ago, me buying a little janky camera from the pawn shop would turn into like all of this? Ooh, oh, the camera's on. Hold on. Well, like, should I just go ahead and do the intro now? Okay, well, this is the story of how I got started in photography. Welcome to Behind the B-Roll, a chance where I get to sit down with you guys and tell you the stories that get left on the cutting room floor. This video is probably a day late, depending on when you're watching it, but it's because of this. So let me know what it sounds like down in the comments. I gotta use this new mic, so hopefully it sounds good. Yeah, just let me know, and let's go ahead and get into today's Let's go ahead and get into today's story. Got it. So in 2015, I decided to start modeling again, and it was going okay. Seeing as my first time modeling with an agency was a little bit scammy. So this time I was going at it on my own, and one of the biggest things that you need for modeling is a portfolio, which means you need photos. And unfortunately, just like agencies can be kind of scammy when it comes to first-time models, so can photographers. And when you're talking about photographers, you're talking about spending hundreds of dollars that I did not have to spend at that time. So if I wanted to get the photos for my portfolio, I was going to have to do it myself. And I didn't have a camera like I do now. Unfortunately, the only thing I had was my cell phone. That left me with a question. How do I get portfolio style photos out of a cell phone? And not a good one at that, let's just be honest. Now I have a friend named Patrick, and he was a photographer starting up at around the same time that I was starting up modeling. And so every once in a while, he would invite me and some other people to meet up downtown to get some photos done so he could practice his photography. And in return, we would all get, some free photos. And as a model that didn't have the money for photos, I was there. Free photos, I lived for free photos. Now, with this encounter is when I first learned the number one rule and the most valuable rule when it comes to photography. We were in the middle of the shoot, and I had just, asked him, how do you get, some of the images that you get, this, that, and the other? And he explained to me to A, always shoot in manual, and B, to understand light. Once you understand light and how it works, no matter what camera that you have, you should be able to get a good image. And that's all I needed to know. I went back home, I sat down, and I started watching YouTube videos on photography with cell phones. There's tons of videos out there where people show you how to get good quality images with a cell phone. So I literally sat down and I was watching YouTube videos and taking photos of everything. literally day in and day out, just studying and trying to learn how to get good quality photos with a cell phone. And then one day I was feeling brave. So I took some duct tape and duct taped my phone to my bathroom wall. And I took a little piece of cardboard and covered it in aluminum foil and like placed it in the above head light so I could get a little bit of a like DIY reflector. And I just started taking photos. And with a little bit of editing, I ended up with this. I know, right? That photo is amazing. And people still don't believe that I used a cell phone to take it. But after that moment, I knew I was on to something. So the next day I went and bought a tripod, and I went and bought like a Bluetooth shutter control and went to town taking photos. Now, since I basically, in my mind, had it down pat, I was posting photos all over, like these were my new portfolio photos. So I was posting them all over Instagram, all over Facebook. And pretty soon, people, I guess, caught wind of my photos and started inquiring who took them. And of course I had to let them know that I was the one that did it. That I got my very first DM asking me to do a photo shoot for somebody. Now, people knew I was taking my photos, but people didn't know that I was using a cell phone to do it. And I was very reluctant to say yes, because at this point in time, I'm not a photographer. Like, I barely know what I'm doing, and I only know how to do it on a cell phone. But it was a good friend of mine. They were also a model, and they were trying to get some photos. So I told them, like, give me $25 and I'll take you some photos. And so we set a time and we set a date, and I was off. But there was still one big problem. I didn't want to show up to do a photo shoot for somebody with a cell phone. Like, just imagine if I showed up and I was just like, okay, we're gonna take your photos. Like, it's not professional at all. So I needed to get a camera. So I went to the two places that I always go to when I need to get cheap electronics or, discounted electronics fast, and that was Craigslist and eBay. And little did I know that in my mind, I'm thinking a cheap camera on Craigslist and eBay, a cheap camera started at like $200. And I didn't have the $200 to spend on a camera for a project that I was only getting paid $25 for. And who knew after this if I was going to even, continue taking photos? Because like I said, I'm not a photographer, I'm a model. And the only reason why I'm taking photos is so I can have portfolio photos for my modeling. Fun fact, that picture that I showed you, this one, it's somewhere on the screen. That was one of the first photos that I got published in a magazine. Like I said, people still to this day don't believe that I took it with a cell phone. But, anyway. So one day, I was out and about, and I saw a pawn shop. And something just told me to take a look inside the pawn shop and see what you can find. I wasn't even thinking about a camera. I was just thinking about, just general stuff. and I'm walking through the pawn shop and I see a camera for 50 bucks. Now, I know it's not like the greatest camera in the world, but it's a camera. And so for 50 bucks, here it goes. For 50 bucks out the door, I ended up with this little Polaroid camera with a flip up flash, little LED screen on the back. The lens doesn't detach, but it did telescope out. I say did, well, I'll tell you later on in the story. But yeah, for 50 bucks, this is what I got. And this was my very first camera. So I have a tripod, I have a camera, I have my first client. It's time to go. All in all, my very first photo shoot went pretty decent. And from then on out, a lot of my clients became other models that I would see at casting calls, other models that I would see at shows. It just kind of spread around like this small little modeling community that I was a part of, that, you know, for 25 bucks you could get some halfway decent photos. And at the same time, my girlfriend was doing open mic, so I was taking photos of the performers. And then I had friends that were dancers, and I ended up actually collabing on a photo shoot with Patrick with a group of dancers in our city. And it just kind of grew. And next thing you know, I wanted to do YouTube, and I wanted to learn how to do videography, and I wanted to start making short films. And like, I don't know, I looking back then, if somebody back then had told me that what started off is just basically a simple assignment to get photos for my modeling would turn into me starting the business and give me all these other opportunities in a whole nother area of creativity that I didn't even know I had in me, I would have told them I was crazy. They were crazy, because I was so laser focused on my modeling, and the photography was just a means to an end for that, you know. Thank you guys so much for staying with me to the end. I know this was a longer video than usual, but thank you so much for staying. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow me on Instagram, follow me on Twitter, and do all the social media things, and leave me some comments down below and tell me what you think. And yeah, until next time.